Today I'm going to show you how I've been making my bread for sandwiches. I've tried several different recipes and I'm trying to figure out how to best make bread with my KitchenAid mixer, which isn't extremely large. So the most that I can make are 2 loaves at a time. So this recipe is for 2 loaves and it's a pretty traditional recipe. I found it on the website Passionate Homemaking. It's called Lindsay's Whole Grain Bread. The first thing you have to do is proof the yeast. Now, this was new to me. What you want to do is mix your yeast, and I have 2 packets here, and you want to put it in the bowl with about 1/2 cup of lukewarm water. Now here's the trick. The water can't be too hot and it can't be too cold. It has to be just perfectly lukewarm. If it's too hot, it kills the yeast. And it needs a little bit of sweetness to activate. So I'm going to use honey, and just about a teaspoon. I don't even measure. And then there'll be more honey later on to help sweeten the bread. And basically I'm just going to blend it up real fast. And then it has to sit here for 5 or 10 minutes until it starts to bubble up and get puffy. And then I know that the yeast is working. Okay, so while that's proofing, I'm going to put my flour together in the bowl because I mix several different kinds of flour. And when it comes time to add that with the mixer, it helps to have it already incorporated, then I can just add a little bit at a time. Basically it needs 6 cups of flour total. And I've been doing about 3 or 4 cups of whole wheat, and then a cup or 2 of spelt flour, and then a cup or two of the white flour. So, okay, so I'm just going to stir that up. And I'll just set that aside until we're ready for it. And I'm still waiting for the yeast to proof, so it does take a few minutes. And you can kind of start to assemble some of the other ingredients. For example, I've got my coconut oil that I've already melted. I'm going to be adding honey, sea salt, and a cup of oats. And then we'll be doing the flour after that. Okay, so it's pretty much ready to go. So it's time to add the rest of the ingredients. You can see how the batter's starting to get a little bit thicker. I still have about half the flour left to go. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more. We're getting there. Okay, you can see it's almost incorporated. So at this point, I'm going to set my kitchen timer for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to turn it up 1 more speed and let it go and see if it comes together. I might need to add a little bit more flour. We'll see how it goes. So turn it up. Okay, I can see that it's still a little bit sticky. It's sticking to the sides of the bowl a little bit, and it really should start to clean the sides of the bowl. So I'm going to add about another 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup of flour. See if that fixes it. I'm going to add just a little bit more in the very bottom. I can see a little bit of dough sticking to the very bottom of the bowl. But just a little bit. Again, if I were kneading by hand, I would be incorporating a little bit of flour in as I go. There goes my timer. Now it's time to check the dough and see if it's still sticky or if it feels like it's about right. Maybe another 1/3 cup, not quite a half. And then we're going to put it on again for about 2 minutes. Okay, that finally incorporated that last bit of flour. Now let's see. It's still a little bit sticky, but I think it's fine. I definitely don't want it to be too dry, so. At this point, you take it off the hook, and it should come off the hook easily. To be as easy as it could be, I think. Well, there it goes. That came out pretty well. Okay, I'm going to grease the inside of the bowl, and then I'm going to return the bread to the bowl and flip it over, and then it needs to rise for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Okay, it's been almost 2 hours, and the dough is risen. It's definitely doubled in size. We'll get the camera to zoom in here, and I'll show you. That's quite a difference, right? All the way to the top of the bowl. You want to kind of punch it down, get the air out. All right, we're going to dump it out of the pan. There we go. At this point, I'm going to basically split it into 2 loaves for the loaf pans. First thing I need to do is grease my loaf pans. I really like these cast iron You want to grease them real good all the way up over to the top of the edges so that the bread doesn't stick at all. Okay, and now I'm going to divide this into 2 loaves. If you want to be really uptight about it, you can weigh them. I don't bother. I just eye it up. I take a knife, split it down the middle, take them apart. And again, if you really want to be careful, you can roll it out and roll them up. But I just kind of make a loaf out of it and plop it in. And then the second one. So I just basically make it, about the right shape. It's not totally even, but it's homemade. It's just my family. This is a lot easier than rolling it all the way out. And then they need to rise again for about 45 minutes, and then I can bake them. Now sometimes what I do is I'll take them just like this and put one in the freezer. And then when I want a fresh loaf of bread, I take it out of the freezer, cover it well, defrost it, let it rise until it's about the right size, and then bake it. Okay, the timer just went off and I checked and the bread is done. So we're gonna pull it out. I wish you could smell how good it smells in here right now. And I pretty much dump it out right away because if you leave it in the pan, the bottom can get kind of soggy. So it should come right out. Oop, there it goes. And it'll cool there on the rack. So there it is. We put it on the rack to cool. And then I learned this trick from my mom. When she made homemade bread, she always would butter the top. So it just makes it nice and savory and soft. And there we go. I'll let it cool for a couple hours and then I will wrap it up. And I've got bread for sandwiches and toast in the morning. And it's pretty much that easy. I have another loaf in the freezer and in a couple days I'll pull it out, let it rise and bake it. And the 2 loaves usually last us about a week. So it's really not that much trouble.